Hey, thanks for joining me today. I've got a good question, kind of a short one, but a good one from Recor in the Philippines. I love the Philippines. I've got Filipino friends all over the world, and it's always good to connect with you. He asks, what is the difference between praise and worship? And what are some biblical proof? What is the biblical proof of their differences? I'll try to answer your question the best way I can. Psalm 100, verse 4, gives us a good guideline to how to enter the presence of the Lord. It says, enter his gates with what? Thanksgiving, and his courts with praise. When you talk about praise and worship, I think praise deals a lot with who God is, thanking him for what he's done, declaring his greatness to the nations, to your congregation. This is more praise-oriented material. When it comes to worship, worship, to me, it's where we really want to be. You want these moments of worship because there's something powerful about declaring who God is, what he's done, but when God really speaks to us and there's a revelation of his presence, these are the moments that we long for in any worship setting in our churches. When God speaks, I've always believed worship is more than a monologue where we say, we bless you, we love you. If we'll give God a moment and give God some room, he wants to speak to us too. And these are the moments that I think in worship where lives are really, really changed. And this should be our goal. I want to read a little passage, part of a passage from Isaiah 6. In Isaiah 6, it says, in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, high and lifted up. Now we're talking about worship here, and this is a good picture of worship. And the train of his robe filled the temple. Above it stood seraphim. Each one had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face. With 2 he covered his feet. With 2 he flew. And one cried to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the posts of the door were shaken by the voice of him who cried out, and the house was filled with smoke. So I said, Woe is me, for I am undone. Now think about this in a worship setting. This is how worship changes lives. Because he had this moment where he saw the Lord high and lifted up, he said, Woe is me, I'm undone. I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. And in verse 8 of Isaiah 6, in that moment of seeing the Lord and seeing him in this powerful worship setting where the glory of the Lord filled the house of the Lord, Isaiah said, also I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then I said, Here am I, send me. And that's really what I think the difference in praise and worship is. Praise, like I said, it's declaring who God is, thanking him for what he's done, declaring his works to the nations. And yet when we get to that moment of worship, the less we do, the better it is. That's when we want to hear from God. That's when we see the Lord high and lifted up in his glory filling the temple. And in those moments, if we'll give God room and give him time, that's when he will cleanse us. That's when he will send us. Who am I? Who am I? Here am I. Send me. Who will go for us? God asks. And the answer is, here am I, send me. So the worship time really can be a real consecrating time, a real sending time as well. So I'm sure there are people that have better takes on this, but as a worship leader, that's kind of the way I look at it. Again, use Psalm 100, verse 4 as a guideline. Enter his gates with thanksgiving, his courts with praise. Declare who he is, declare what he's done, thank him for all this. But the goal is to get to a place where we see the Lord high and lifted up, his glory filling the temple. He speaks to us, and we respond, say, here am I, send me. So that's my goal. I'd love to see that happen at every one of my events, a time where the glory of the Lord fills the house, and he speaks to each one of us and sends us out to change the world. Thanks so much for your question. I hope to see you soon in the Philippines. And if you've got a question you want to ask me, go to donmoen.com/askdon, and I'll give it my best shot. God bless. Make it a great day.